Hello there, welcome to the reading room, and I'm back, Mark Reed, with another Fundamentalist Fails on a Friday, and I love that it's Friday. I love that I get to do Fundamentalist Fails, and thank you so much for joining me because this is awesome. Hello, Marty. Hello, Katina. So glad you could join me for this one. This one's a really special one because it sort of involves somebody that I like, who is Donny. If you're unfamiliar with Donny, if you're unfamiliar with the sort of scientific train wreck that is the Standing for Truth show. Donny's an interesting one. He runs a channel called Standing for Truth, where he, to my mind, he kind of just misrepresents everything. And sort of just misrepresents papers, misrepresents. He does run debates. I've been on there before. Not so much anymore. I don't think many people are game to take me on anymore. I have hit him up upon occasion and said, "Hey, happy to debate." Um, but the funny thing is that aside from sort of, I completely disagree with Donny, but I can't help liking the guy. He's kind of very likable, and apart from being sort of stuck in this flat Earth Stone Age, sorry, the young Earth Stone Age. I do apologize. He's not a flat Earther, but what's the real difference between the two worldviews? Really, when you get down to it, flat Earth and young Earth are just, they have as much scientific evidence for one another as the other does. So I'm not sure about that one. But I can't help liking the guy. He's a likable guy, and I'm sure, sort of in any other situation than talking about science, we would just get on famously, and we do get on. So I sort of, he's made sort of shorts about me and riling me up, and I've made sort of things about him and riling up. Aside from that, I can't help liking the guy because he is likable, but he is absolutely sort of scientifically bankrupt, and he doesn't present the truth about evolution, about the heat problem. I give him a lot of hassle at times because he's claimed to have on people solving the heat problem on no less than sort of 5 occasions. It's actually quite funny. But I think that sometimes he goes in for just stuff that makes me really wonder, like, so really, really wonder. But I just want to give some shout outs to the people in the chat. Marty, so good to see you as always. Katina, Barnaby, so good to see you. I do have to answer your email as well, Barnaby. You kind of asked to do a geology special. I do actually have one. I do apologize. I did see it last night, but I didn't have time to reply to it. Dustin, good to see you, mate. Yeah, if evolution is true, why don't you? Yeah, why don't you have Wolverine claws? At what point would you be benefited by having Wolverine claws? Is that going to save you against a charging bear? I don't think so. I think being intelligent enough is probably a better strategy. Hi, Mike Pragmatic Crystal. So good to see you. Big shout outs to you. Oh, thank you, Barnaby. Barnaby, member for 11 months, proud member of Mark Reed. Yes, you are an amazing reader. You've definitely been here from the very start, and I really appreciate it, Barnaby. Absolutely. This one is kind of hilarious. Platypus says, Barbs, only the males, Dustin. Only the males, not the females. They have venomous barbs. Yes, they are. The platypus is actually venomous. Yes, it's one of the 2 extant monotremes in the world, i.e., animals that lay eggs. So basically there was and this is really interesting. There was a retrovirus that infected mammals, placental mammals, after they split off from the monotremes, that allowed for placental development, which which basically meant that monotremes never developed placental um, birth, so they still lay eggs, as does the echidna. They're the two extant monotremes still left in the world. But we have a line of these monotremes, most of which have gone extinct, and they only exist in Australia. But yes, they are animals, that still lay eggs, and they're sort of, you know, they're very similar to mammals. So I don't know how you sort of explain that one, but we can explain it. We can absolutely explain it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Dustin, I don't want to get sidetracked. So we're going to be talking about sort of demons and witches and psychics today, because that's what the video is about, and that's what we want to do. So you've got my email address. If you want to have a conversation about it, I'm more than happy for you to come on. But I don't want you sort of just talking evolution every time you come in, because I've got a show to run. So I appreciate you being here, but I've sort of got stuff to do. Your questions are very easily answered. I'm more than happy to talk to you if you want to email me and set something up. But yeah, but we'll go on to the sort of monotremes, and I love monotremes. Actually, they found a I'm glad you brought this up, Dustin, because one of my favorite things, it's so cool. I'll try and find it. It was like they found a ancestor of the platypus, and I think it was the echidna, like a one something that sort of um sort of um has traits of both, like a mosaic fossil, which is awesome. um uh, I can't remember what it was called, but yeah, look it up, see. um and it was called an echidnapus, they called it, which is so cool. And they sort of, they have pictures of it, but of course it's extinct. So they had to like draw pictures of it, but it's pretty cool. The echidnapus, and it's as cute as it sounds. Because I don't know if you know this, but echidnas and platypuses are insanely cute, insanely cute. Australia centric. How dare you, sir? How dare you? I didn't even bring up the platypus this time, Jake. How dare you? I not a problem. Okay, well, moving on. I won't show the echidnapus. But yeah, look it up. It's really, really cute and really cool and really awesome. Yeah, yeah, echidnapus. All right. Well, but for the moment, what we're doing is we're talking about. So Donny put up a video, and usually, I'm not. Did I cancel the video? Oh dear. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yeah, I did. Okay. Usually I don't really get, I mean, Donny sort of, he's done a million and one, why ERVs are false and sort of things like that. I kind of just for him for the most part. He doesn't, the science isn't going to be behind ERVs and behind evolution is not going to be solved, in some random chat room of theists. Basically, that's not where it's going to get going to happen. But sometimes he does stuff so bizarre that I just have to I have to pay attention. And this one's particularly funny, just mostly because the title of this video is "The Truth About Demons, Ghosts, and Familiar Spirits. Undeniable evidence for the supernatural." So you you basically if you don't have proof of the supernatural, oh boy, are you in for a surprise, because this is undeniable. undeniable evidence for the supernatural. So you atheists, are you ready for undeniable? And so he's talking to, and actually I'll just start it running. But yeah, Sydney, so good to see you, mate. Jake, so good to see you. Yeah, you guys, it is really cute. And the cutest part about echidna and platypus is their babies are called puggles, and they are uber cute. Oh, hey Donny. Yeah, no, I'm roasting you, Donny. You'd love to have a, yeah, man. Except make sure it's female. But and plus they're endangered, and you know they have a hard time with invasive species. So no pet platypus for you. But no, I get you. I get you, mate. So this is undeniable evidence of the supernatural. Undeniable. So if you try to deny it, just be aware it is undeniable. So tarot cards are kind of interesting, and things like Ouija boards, as I think Donny mentioned. Ouija board originally came out for unconscious writing, right? It originally wasn't a supernatural thing. No sound. Oh, OBS, why you do this? Why you do this? My apologies. My apologies. Truth about demons. The audio share is on. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it, my friends. I appreciate it. Can you hear that? Can you hear that? Still no sound? Give me some feedback. Give me some feedback. I need it. Still no sound? No. Okay. Give me 1 sec. I'll do this the old-fashioned way. I'll do this the old-fashioned way and just share the entire thing. Screen 2. Share system audio. That's okay. Let me turn off things in the background, and well, this will work. I have faith. I have religious faith that this will work 100%.
With tarot cards, and I've heard many people talk about Ouija boards, things like this. Is this what opens up the possibility or leaves someone's susceptible to these familiar spirits and demons?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. That's why I was saying before there.
Okay, so yeah. I just got the entire sound audio. I don't know what StreamYard's doing. I have issues with StreamYard. So Ouija boards were mentioned, right? I thought they were mentioned. Definitely were mentioned. That was not a that was not a originally intended to be contacting spirits. It basically is. It was originally made as a way to get in contact with your subconscious, essentially. Yeah, no, I hear you, Jake. I hear you. So it was originally designed as a way to get in contact with your subconscious, which kind of, if you have read studies, your subconscious and your brain states can work as kind of another person. But it originally wasn't supposed to be a cult. It actually rose to that level during the Exorcist kind of thing, where they used a Ouija board and various other media. It's still a game under I think it's produced by Hasbro or something. I can't remember the game company, but it wasn't originally designed as that. And things like tarot cards, they can tell a lot about sort of going into the subconscious, but there's nothing supernatural about them. It's been demonstrated that they don't have any predictive power. There's none of this power coming through, and so when you start to go, well, I can do supernatural things with this card, it should be a triviality to prove that. It should be really trivial to prove that. And it's never been confirmed that they do anything, and they're kind of interesting, but it's kind of trivial. So if you haven't seen Standing for Truth before, that's Donny on the left. I sort of, you know, I like Donny. He's a good guy. I just think that he's wrong on a lot of stuff. And you know, Donny, anytime you want to debate, hit me up, buddy. You know you've got an open invitation. I'm more than happy to. But Sam on the right, sort of, Sam is interesting. He's very aggressive, very rude to people. I don't have the same respect for Sam. He's sort of, I'm not sure why he's here, because Donny's doing all of the heavy lifting on this one. He's wrong about this in cards. Yeah, I think that really what they do is they kind of access. So most of the time, our left brain hemisphere is dealing with rationality, and it deals with things like math and logical processing, basically. So your right hemisphere deals with imagination, and it makes things up, and it deals with these intuitive things. And we can see this from split brain patients who have the hemispheres of their brain split away, that their two hemispheres might be in complete disagreement with stuff. If you haven't read up on split brain patients, I recommend doing so, because it really does tell us a lot about what the two hemispheres of our brains are actually doing. And so it sort of, neurologists sort of say that these things, these tools, they may be a way to access the other brain hemisphere, which usually we don't access logically. We don't access with our rational mind. It's really a case of the left-hand brain often just gives us intuitions that we just, you know, sort of then we rationalize them with our right side hemisphere. We sort of go, okay, well, the reason why I feel this way is this, and we try to attribute a logical series of events to it. But in fact, it's more just our intuition of the left-hand side. It's really fascinating stuff. And so these cards and these Ouija boards, they're not sort of any kind of spiritual thing. It may just be, and what neurologists sort of say, it's just you're accessing the intuitive side of your brain, which can make these imaginative leaps without your right brain actually doing it.
It's a gateway. So yeah, we're going to be, without Christ, well, actually, even in Christ, with their spiritual attack, as you mentioned, Sam, you know, we're not fighting a physical battle. There's a spiritual battle going on around us.
Oh, really? Oh, I love this stuff. Yeah, they work together. Yes, they do. But what we see when we have a split brain patient, and this is fascinating stuff. I just want to talk about this for a second. Yeah, so Donny, so when you're accessing the Ouija board, it feels like someone else is moving it because you're accessing the other side of your brain, like the part that isn't the thing. Oh, I don't know what I'm talking. Okay, sure. Let's find it. So what they did is they went through, and they had a split brain patient. So the corpus callosum is basically split down the middle. That is the bridge between the two hemispheres. And a patient, what they basically do is they covered, so the left hemisphere accesses the right eye, the right hemisphere accesses the left eye. I don't know why they're switched, but they are. So what they did is they covered one eye and showed one side a hammer, basically, or some kind of tool. I can't remember if it was a hammer or something like that. So one side said, because the right side, the side responsible for logic, is your speech function. So the speech function basically said, Okay, I see a hammer. They can speak. Now, the right hand controls the left. So the left side of your brain controls the right side. So they got the same person to draw a picture of what they saw, right, with a hammer in one eye and a saw in the other, and it drew us, and the hand drew a saw, right? So the one side said it saw a hammer because that's the image it was showed to you. The other eye being shown a saw, an image of a saw, the other hand drew a saw. And the really interesting part is that both sides agreed they were the same thing. It was really wacky, and there's a lot of documentation on this. I really encourage you to look up split brain patients. It's No, I'm saying that so the reason why you feel like it's someone else replying is because it's not the rational side of your brain doing it. It's the intuitive side. And that feels like somebody else because it kind of is. Both hemispheres work together, but a human neurology is kind of made up. Like when we see dissociative identity disorder, for instance, where what used to be called split personality, we kind of have that already to a certain degree. I'm not saying that that's the case, but it's almost like a human is made up of all these different functionalities that work together, and we think of ourselves as one person.
So there'll be demons there, but when you start going down the divination,
what are you talking about? A lobotomy. A prefrontal lobotomy is completely different, Dustin. That's where you drill a spike through the part of your brain that you need for conscious thinking. What I don't understand what you're saying, mate. I really don't. But you know, a lobotomy renders somebody incapable of conscious sort of thought to begin with. It basically knocks out. I can't remember which part of the brain it knocks out. Yeah, the prefrontal lobe, the frontal lobe. Yeah, so it's basically targeted. Yeah, it severs the frontal lobes. Not it's not a severus of the corpus callosum, which is the sort of middle part of your, like, people have been shot through the middle of their brain before, and they've gone on living relatively normal lives. Like, you can live with both sides of your brain split.
Path. When you practice divination, you're invoking demons.
When you practice divinations, you're invoking demons. Okay, what demons are you invoking? As far as I know, people that sort of claim to invoke spirits usually just think of them as spirits, and some of them think of them as angels. So how do we actually find out whether they're demons or angels or spirits, or how do we actually test to see what they are, aside from people just claiming what they are? Hey Speedy, good to see you, mate. I saw you the other day. I think it was on Dave's channel, or was it? It was Speed of Sound and Dave talking, and that was a really interesting conversation. Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah. No, I really encourage you to look up split brain patients, Dustin. It's fascinating, mate. Like how humans able to live without the connection between the hemispheres of their brain. It's absolutely riveting. Like it's just incredible that the two sides keep on working and functioning, and you can have somebody whose two sides of their brain disagree with one another. Like one side can be atheist and the other side can believe in God. It's so interesting how the brain works, and it gives us so much insight into how the brain actually operates. Okay, I'm trying not to be mean here, Catholic traditionalist, but you've come onto a channel called Mark Reed Atheism. I don't know how you can't work that out from the name of the channel. I'm really sorry. I'm trying not to be mean, mate, but yeah. No, I'm not. I called my channel Mark Reed Atheism for the lulz. That's what I did. Yep. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to be mean, mate, but seriously, that didn't really need to be asked.
Poking the demons. You're saying, hey, come on over. It's okay. So these demons are prowling around to start as it is, right? But
can we have some sort of evidence of these demons prowling around? Now, this is Jen Nizza. Jen Nizza is, I mean, she's interesting. I'll give her that. But she apparently worked as a psychic for a long time. So doing the psychic lines and the psychic readings for people, as they call it, basically making crap up, essentially, as all psychics do. None of them have been able to demonstrate that they have any power or anything like that. And all of them are dodgy, to say the least. And this is what I'm talking about with sort of Donny's dodgy demonology. This is somebody that has worked, not gotten a lot of fame. I've never heard of her before, but it seems like from my sort of investigation on the internet into Jen Nizza, is she really came on the scene where she released a book explaining how she converted from being a psychic to Christianity. And this worries me because from my experience of Christians, and I'm not going to generalize, some Christians, especially the fundamentalist ones, some are fine. So we don't, a lot of Christians, especially the fundamentalist one, don't have a lot of critical thinking to actually examine what she is saying is true or false. She is telling them what they want to hear. And that's a problem, because that's what psychics will do. They will tell you what you want to hear or what you suspect already. And basically they will reinforce that.
now it's like, hey, come on in. I'm going to go do another reading. I'm going to go get my palm read. I'm going to do, and because they're the ones giving the information, these are the forces that are behind the tarot cards, that are behind the playing cards.
There's no forces behind tarot. It's all in your own imagination. Nobody has demonstrated any kind of force behind them. A lot of the time, they're just intuitive guesses. They're just people get intuitions about stuff, sort of just feeling in your gut that these things are true. Or else, if there were actual forces giving us actual information, we would be able to test that. We would be able to get somebody who had no knowledge of a control subject and get them to give us information about them. But we can't. A lot of the time, it comes down to certain techniques that they use. They use cold readings, they use informational gathering, and they basically use Barnum statements, educational guesses that sound true. They sound like they know more than they do. Like if I say, hey, you have a brother who hasn't been doing very well, sort of recently hasn't been doing very well. That will apply to so many people that they'll be convinced, right? They'll just go, wow, I have a brother, and 2 years ago, this happened. Did it mean 2 years ago? Did it mean in the last 6 months? What did that actually mean? So it's statements like that. And they're used a lot in astrology. People, you'll meet a dark and handsome stranger. What does that mean exactly? If you're pulled over by a cop, suddenly you're like, wow, they were right. If you see a person in a bar, wow, you're right. They're Barnum statements. They can be applied in so many situations that they're not actually giving you any information. Oh, hello, Robin. I got to say hello to Robin. Robin, glad you're well. So good to see you. Absolute hero of the channel. This is a show, not an open room. Not an open room, Catholic. Like, steady on. I'm doing a show. Is this what you do? You just go into rooms and go, hey, I want a platform. Give me a platform. If you want to have a debate, more than happy to debate you. More than happy to. Send me an email. I can put my email in chat, then remove it, but I don't leave it there because of bots. But send me an email if you do want to debate. More than happy to. More than happy to. Okay, so there you go. Debate me. As I put in the rules for the chat, more than happy to debate anybody. Send me an email. I'll certainly tell you if I don't feel like I can debate you for various reasons, mostly due to problematic statements. But if you do want to debate me. Don't come into a stream and then don't come into a stream and then try and debate in the chat. It's not really fair on me. It's not fair on my audience. They've come to see the fundamentalist fails. So yeah. Okay, so just confirm you've got that, and we can move on.
The coffee grinds, the psychic mediums, and all of that. So yeah, you are inviting them into your life big time. And looking back now, it's frightening to think about not only how many were around me and then bother me, but the multiplication of them as I kept going deeper and deeper into this darkness.
That's very interesting. So when you...
Oh, Jake, don't, what? Jake, what are you doing? Please. Great. Yeah, no worries. Yeah, no, I'm not on TikTok, mate. I don't do TikTok, but yeah, I think that maybe you know, I can get a moderator and we can have a debate on my channel if you want. Not a problem. I can debate on your channel if you want. More than happy to. Not a problem in the slightest. You know, I do debate. I am a counter apologist. I do debate. I think I can say that. If you've got it, I can remove it so bots don't hit me up. Bam. That's a little hurtful, Al. You know, how old do you think I am? I'm going to run a poll. How old do you think I am? Because the results may surprise you. How old is Mark? I'm probably going to need more than yes or no for this one. 19 to... what? How? Yeah, definitely 19 to 20. Now that why so specific? I don't know. Oh dear. Oh well. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Katina. Yeah, I'm happy today. In fact, I kind of I've really been missing debate. I haven't been in a lot of debates. Yeah, absolutely back. Absolutely. Add them all up. I am ageless. Ageless.
Speak about how they were around you, and I've heard in interviews in your books you speak to how they even touched you. You've seen them as well. Visibly. So I'm wondering, especially for those in the audience that might be new to this topic, how do these spirits present themselves?
Yeah, so if you'd missed that, he said in your book. So Jen is going around promoting a book, and she's been on multiple channels, all the usual suspects, sort of promoting these books of how she deconverted or left being a psychic and going to going to Christianity. And it worries me because let's get back to fundamentals. How do you know these demons existed? How do you actually test for these demons? You're basically saying, hey, these demons are unfalsifiable, but they were there and now they're not. Right? So how do you actually know that that was the case? How do you know you're not mistaken? How do you know that the Christianity that you're currently part of is not still demons? Right? There's a few philosophical problems regarding demons, kind of thing. That if all of the things that you've been told in the past are demons, and now you realize it, how do you know it's still not demons giving you this information? Like, how do you know? Right? So you might say, hey, I know because of, and I don't want to straw man, but I know because of the works. I'm now doing good things. How do you know that's not a ploy by the demons? Right? So, sort of Maxwell's demon, for instance, Laplace's demons, right? There's all of these sort of. So, how do you know that these demons aren't sort of giving you Christianity in order to infiltrate it? So when you start to sort of put demons in your thinking, that these demons can convince you of things, it's not a very reliable way to get to the truth. Because if you can say, well, demons can convince me of this, we need a better way to break down what we should believe and why we should believe it. But like most things that are unfalsifiable, investigation into demons and what are demons and whether demons, it's kind of no point because you can't falsify them. You can always say, oh, the demons were hiding.
How do they look? How do they infect your life, I guess?
Yeah, they presented themselves in all different ways, from dark, shadowy figures to what we know as familiar spirits, so somebody that looks like a human.
Dark, shadowy figures. Did you have the presence of mind to take a photograph? And if not, why not? Smartphones are everywhere now. You know what's coming up less and less? These incidents of demons that we can confirm. Usually dark shadows are just dark shadows. So let me tell you how the human mind works when it comes to pareidolia and sort of these seeing shapes, because we do it all the time. We do cloud watching, we see shapes. When there's a dark shadow, you will automatically pick a shape to put it through. Have you ever been in a darkened room, maybe heard a noise, turned around, you see a shadowy figure, and then you realize, oh, it's just a lamp or something else? Your brain automatically is a pattern-seeking device. It will put patterns to things. So I know these guys don't believe in evolution, but for those who know evolution is a thing, the humans who basically turned around and saw a shadowy figure in shadows were the ones to survive, because when you're out in the savannah and you're sort of living, it's the ones that jumped at nothing or at any shadow were the ones to survive. The ones that turned around, saw a shadow and didn't ignored it, don't survive, because out in the wild, sometimes that shadow is nothing. Sometimes that shadow is a saber-toothed tiger. I mean, that's just a sort of, colloquial term, or a threat of some sort, or another human that maybe means you harm. So we're kind of geared to see these things where maybe none exist. It's like the rustle in the bushes. Like, we automatically ascribe to sounds that we hear agency. Like, oh, we hear a moan. Oh, it's got to be somebody, and it's not just a leaky pipe. We automatically think that, and that's due to that is a survival mechanism where you survive when you attribute sounds to something making the sound and not just natural processes. because the humans that ignored sounds and just went, oh, it's a natural process, they didn't survive very long.
An entity that looks like a human being, looks like your grandma, your mom.
And you had no camera with you. You had no phone on you at any point. Or is this special sight? Is this spiritual sight that you can't sort of, you know, prove it in any way? You can't take a photo of it. It's special, so nobody can see it except for you. What we should do, what I would like to do, is get a whole bunch of psychic mediums, get them to see one of these figures, put them in separate rooms, and get them to describe the figures and see if they come out the same. None of them want to do that for obvious reasons. None of them want to participate in controlled scientific experiments. And I wonder why. Like, I wonder why. Because every time we've investigated these psychic claims and, you know, sort of mediums saying that they see spirits, every time we've investigated, it's either been A, a fraud, B, they're not accurate, or C, that they just get some guesses at the same rate as chance. At the same rate as chance. So every time we've controlled for the information they get, they have not been a psychic.
You know, whatever, a child or even just a stranger, but a human being. I used to see animals that I describe as like corpse animals or ghost animals, even though I hate the word ghost. It is in the Bible though, but you know, that not three-dimensional. So they manifested, I realized this recently, in whatever way.
Yeah, and sort of, so Dustin, yeah, you can test these things, Dustin. You can test these things. Like, for instance, water diviners. Not sure if you're aware of this, but they did masses amount of testing on water diviners. So people with the rod, they have a divining rod and they can find water. What they did is they took them into a controlled environment, like a place where the water was under these identical buckets, basically, and they had to define where the water was. Right? And they couldn't. It was the same rate as chance. Like, so somebody just guessing which bucket it was under, you know, the you know, sort of bowl of water or the container of water underneath these sealed buckets so they can't see where it is. They had the same rate as chance. So we know that that doesn't work. Now, there might be other things in play. Yes, I did. As I said, I don't. So if you're unfamiliar with the internet, there's these things called scrapers, and they will go through things like transcripts and things like that, scraping email addresses and other stuff off of the internet. And so I don't leave anything up. Just give me a sec. Just make sure you take it down this time. Just tell me when you got it. Yeah, just tell me when you got it and I'll remove it. I don't leave that. That's why on it's also up on my channel description. It's just if you're on mobile, you might not be able to get it because apparently it doesn't come up on mobile for some reason. Yeah, join the Discord. Yeah, I should plug the Discord more. You're right. You should plug the Discord more. Okay. Yeah, so these psychic things, and a guy called James Randi, rest in peace, James Randi, he did a standing offer of £1 million. He was English, so it was in pounds, £1 million to any supernatural person, any psychic, any magician, anybody, any religious figure, anybody that could provide proof of the supernatural, any supernatural thing, under controlled laboratory experiments. And look up some of his video, James Randi. You know, he did some experiments. He was the guy that he basically busted Uri Geller, the spoon bending guy. He busted him basically for being a fraud, essentially being a fraud, because he could not replicate his spoon bending under controlled conditions. He couldn't. So yeah, it's just sort of, you know, when you're offering £1 million. Oh, he was American. It was $1 million. Sorry, Jake. My apologies, mate. There's my Discord. If anybody wants it, you know, feel free to join. Not a problem at all. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and it was epic. It was a big deal because most people thought that Uri Geller was the real deal, the real deal. I'll finish up the poll, and yeah, you're mostly right. I am 47. Is my age. I'm 47. So yeah, my audience knows me well. Yeah, so anybody could have come and demonstrated their psychic powers under controlled conditions, and they would have got $1 million. Instant millionaire. Instant millionaire.
Would accomplish whatever their agenda was for that moment. So if I was doing a psychic mediumship reading, oh, here's grandma, and she seems so innocent and nice, and this is comforting, and this is great. But then in moments, if they wanted to provoke fear in me, I wake up and there's this thing that looks like the Grim Reaper in front of my bed, or the animals, or when they touched me, that provoked fear, but also got my attention. They were trying to get my attention a lot.
Yeah, and you thought you were doing it for the right reasons. How do you know that you're doing it for the right reasons now? And how do I know you're not just making that up? A lot of people have claimed to be able to see spirits, but none of them can tell me, you know, sort of what somebody who gets selected off the street, what their grandma looked like, right? What she died in, what details about a random person, you know, specific details, not just, oh, they were old and they were, you know, had a bad back. Seriously, that's what they do. They're Barnum statements. They're basically statements that seem accurate when you say them, but they can be applied over a very wide range of circumstances.
Especially in the beginning, right before the mediumship happened. So sometimes it would just be even later on cackling, you know, gray, shadowy figures, things like that, but in all different ways.
That's amazing.
That's not amazing. That's just a claim. And Donny, I kind of feel disappointed because he doesn't actually push back in the slightest. Like, she's just made a very, very stringent claim about something that happened. How do we then know that this is actually what happened? How do we know that it's not her imagination, a delusion, a hallucination, whether she's actually grifting and is trying to con people? Because don't forget, her conversion to Christianity and away from the evil psychic is predicated on her selling books about it. But she currently is going around selling a lot of books about how she turned from the evil demonic ways to Christianity. So she's definitely making a profit out of this. And that doesn't necessarily mean that she's lying, but, you know, shouldn't we be sort of approaching this with more skepticism than, well, that's interesting? Well, it is, but how do we then test to see whether it's the actual truth? How do we then find out?
And I guess this goes back to what Sam was talking about earlier with the naturalists. We spend a lot of time here on Standing for Truth, focusing on Christian apologetics and engaging the naturalist, the atheist who rejects a supernatural worldview, or that God had created, or that God exists. And so I wonder how a skeptic would address what I'm sure you're not the only one who's seeing. Anybody who's involved in being a psychic medium would, I'm assuming, be seeing the same things. I've seen you even speak to, you were driving on the road, you'd be leaving a reading, and you would see them present themselves in the middle of the road for a split second.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. You know, you're driving and you see them. Yeah, people, that can happen to people. There is a story about the black dog among truck drivers, you know, long haul truck drivers who sort of see a dog come and jump in the sort of, you know, face of people kind of thing. It's really from tiredness that it occurs. We understand what happens. We don't sort of we don't sort of not understand that we can see things when we're incredibly tired. That happens a lot. Yeah, sure. If you can find me a haunted house, a reported haunted site, good luck. I mean, I think Fremantle Prison would be the only place near me that I know is reportedly haunted, kind of thing. They do tours and stuff. Sure.
Because that's their mission, was they were trying to destroy me. That's what that's all they want to do, is destroy people. They want to destroy people here with severe demonic oppression, and their hope, I hate to use the word hope with demons, but their plan is to get you so far away from God, so far away from the truth, the gospel of Jesus Christ, so that your soul would be condemned with them and a fate in hell.
How do you know this? Like, how does she know this? This is the thing. We've got no way to test whether this is the truth. She just says it is, and this is what she's doing. And it does cross my mind that she's appealing to people who already think that that there are demons that they're trying to get you away from God. They're preloaded to believe this already, and that's a lot of the time how these people operate, telling people what they want to hear.
So that's what they're trying to do. But the atheist is going, oh, I'm so sorry, Sam.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I've spoken to atheists about this type of thing, and they are, some of them are really willing to just say, listen, I don't know how that happened. I don't know how you knew all this information about perfect strangers. There was no Google, there was no website. As a matter of fact, something that I think is so awesome, how God.
Yeah, as I said, like, I don't know either. That's assuming you did have specific information about people and not just statements that could be applied to a wide range of people. But, we can test your abilities under laboratory conditions, under controlled conditions where you can't get access to the information. But it's funny that she claims to have all these power, and these atheists saying, well, it's amazing how you knew all this stuff. But why didn't you go on the James Randi Foundation and get $1 million? Like, why wouldn't you be doing that? Why wouldn't you be showing everybody that this power that you've got can absolutely give you this knowledge and you get this power? I don't understand.
Uses people, and our testimonies is that if anybody gets to know me, you're going to find out that I'm not technologically savvy. And he's brought my ministry to technology, which is interesting. So back when I was a psychic medium, there was no website, there was no.
Oh, and now she's running a ministry. Yeah. So she's telling people, hey, I used to worship demons. I was wrong. I thought I was a psychic. It's all demons. And this is I really feel sorry for people in Christianity, because they don't look at things in a skeptic light. They don't say, hey, this person was a psychic claiming to have power. No way to check it. Could it be that she was lying then and lying now? Absolutely. What if she's just lying? She could just be telling you things you want to hear. How do we check whether she actually was involved with demons? How do we check that she is now not still involved with demons? How do you know? Just say you believe that demons are real. How do you know she's not an undercover plant by the demons? How do we know? How do we check any of this stuff? We can't. Because they will provide no way to actually check the information. And even though $1 million has been offered for demonstrating that this actually exists and true, she won't actually demonstrate it. Whether consciously or unconsciously, it's not true. It's just not true.
Instagram, there was no TikTok, there was none of that going on. So you have to then, let me put the burden on you. So then you explain to me how it is that I've never met you ever. I don't want your money. I'm here for an ultrasound. and I start telling you about your brother who passed away in a boating accident, what he looked like, names, who he was with, and how do I know that? Why?
Can we do that under controlled conditions? Can we do that under control? Can we just get a random person? Can we say, make up things about somebody? Like, just say somebody doesn't have a brother that passed away, but you guess, hey, did you have a brother that passed away? And they say yes, and you start to describe them. Well, then we know that you don't have this power. The problem with this is that cold reading is a time-honored tradition by not just magicians, and they're called mentalists, right? They're basically magicians that work with how people's minds work. They will pick up intuitively on signals and ask questions that will lead them to the answer. And a lot of it is using researchers that inform them and things like this. When we try to do this under controlled conditions, their powers evaporate. They just evaporate.
Is that even being told to me when you're just an innocent woman standing here giving me an ultrasound? So I would think the burden would be a little bit on them. But sometimes they say they really truly don't know, and they're willing to say, I don't know, but it's not evidence enough for me to say your God exists.
Well, I don't think it's not evidence enough to say your God exists, but I think it's more to say nothing supernatural exists, or nothing psychic exists, or none of these claims have any weight behind them. You need to be able to demonstrate that you have this power without, being around some person who may have mentioned information that you may know. How do we know this is actually true? I mean, she's basically claiming that she could tell that a random woman's brother had died of a boating accident. Why can't she do that for anybody? Why can't she do it for me? Did I have a brother that died? Why can't she see my dead brother? Do I have a brother that died? She should know. Why can't she? And I mean, now she would say, oh, well, I don't truck with those demons anymore, kind of thing. Very convenient, especially if, and I don't know this is the case, but as a hypothetical, imagine if she was being found out by a community. Like, she had a number of predictions absolutely wrong. Wouldn't it be very, very convenient to go, well, I'm changing to Christianity. I'm giving up my wicked ways. They're all demons. They're all trying to destroy me. Now I don't have the power that I used to, but I'm going to still go around claiming that I could tell all this stuff. And then she starts a ministry and puts out a book. Very, very convenient.
Yeah, there's a pretty fascinating book called Imagine Heaven, and it's about near-death experiences and certain events similar to what you're saying. But I'd like to back up a little bit. You talked about inviting these spirits in. So as a Christian, we understand that when we accept Christ as Lord, we're indwelt with the Holy Spirit. We can no longer be possessed. But what about the
Okay. But then why are you afraid of interacting with these Holy Spirit, these spirits then? You can no longer be possessed. Okay. I don't know why Christians go to get exorcisms then. Well, Sam, why do Christians get exorcisms then? If you've got the Holy Spirit, why do Christians get exorcisms? Because it's only people who are Christians getting exorcisms. I mean, maybe some other faiths as well. I'm not sure, but what? Wow.
Christian's home, and maybe they have a child that's playing with Ouija boards or doing things like that. How does that work? And what would any parent do to combat that? Or
well, I think a better question is, can you show that does occur? Can you show that is actually the case rather than just claiming it? How does that work? Well, I mean, you can throw out metaphoricals all you want about a spiritual flux and the opening of the gateway to the evil realms or whatever you want. But at that point, it's just sounding like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Like, can you actually show that demons exist to start off with? Let's face it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a Christian parent and you find out your child has their hands on a Ouija board, you're not going to Sally's house again, young lady. I always encourage Christian parents, number one, to be Christian parents. Don't worry about being their buddy. You're the one who knows better. You're the one who is.
Yeah, that's a good point. Why do only theists get possessed? It's a really good point. Thanks, Hill Hugger. It's good to see you, mate. Really, really good to see you.
Trying to help bring them to Christ, obviously. You've got to explain in an age-appropriate way what is wrong with the Ouija board, what is wrong with things like that. I mean, kids now with the crystals, I mean, it's huge. And especially if these kids have any form of social...
Crystals. Yeah, crystals don't do anything. It's like aromatherapy. It doesn't... scent definitely does evoke emotions, but they're just emotions. They're not, they're not healing you. They're not like crystals. Are crystals demonic now? Is that what we're saying? Like just minerals? What?
Media. The devil is targeting the children in such it's so disgusting. It makes sense because he's current and active. But these kids now have social media, and on Instagram, on TikTok, you can get readings at the click of a button. You can
you can get readings at the click of a button. Yeah, and they're, I happen to agree with her. Kind of, they're preying on children, as she probably did when she was a medium. But they're not trying to infect them with demons. They're just bilking them for money. That they don't want your soul, they just want your money. That's what they want. And that's what she's still doing, is bilking people for money. That's what she's after. Like, don't be mistaken. It's not this spiritual war. It's a financial con. That's what it is.
Be influenced by these new age ideologies. And I feel very sorry for Christian parents out there, because they're probably feeling torn sometimes. Well, should they have an Instagram? Should they not? And they're trying to protect them, but yet they are going to be in the world. So parents, you need to explain to your children in an age appropriate way what this is, and know who your kids are spending time with. Don't just give them $20 and drop them off at the carnival. Warn them that there's usually a tarot card reader at the carnival, because come on, back in the day, I mean, when I was that age.
Yeah, that's kind of a bad idea, because like, if you think back to when you're like a teenager or whatever, if your parents said, definitely don't go and do this, I sometimes think that Christians don't understand child psychology. So I don't think that sort of saying, hey, don't go near that tarot reader. You're better to explain what they're doing and how they're doing it. Like you're better off to explain, hey. But the thing is, I don't see a problem if they want to, as fun, go and go to the tarot reader and see how accurate they are. But you can explain to children, as atheists usually do, how to critically think about things. Is she saying actual stuff that couldn't apply to anybody? When she says, oh, you have a sister, I can see you have a sister. No. Oh, then you have a brother. It's this Barnum statements that they use that con people, because they sound so tailored to them specifically. But if you ask if someone has a sister, you're almost always 50% right. If they start off by going, oh, you have a sibling, it's very rare to get an only child. It's not a psychic power. It's just cold reading. That's all it is, cold reading.
12, 13. Here's $10, $20. Here, go to the fair, go to whatever. What are your kids looking at? What are they being exposed to? Who are they spending time with?
Yeah, and you did this for a living, and now you're claiming it was these spirits. But give me money for my book and money for my ministry, because now I'm on the right side. Yeah. I think that she's still, I think that she was a fraud before. She's a fraud now. I think there's nothing sort of that she's doing but what crosses my mind is that this is what the Christians want to hear. It's what they want to hear. And sort of, oh, you drop them off at the fair and give them money. How did she know? It's a Barnum statement. It'd apply to almost everybody.
The most important thing any Christian parent can do, as we know, is pray that the Lord would protect them, because God loves them even more than we do. So pray and read to them and teach them about Jesus.
I'd like to, if I could. I'm quite interested in, I guess, Ouija boards, not obviously having experiences with them. I've never had an experience with a Ouija board, but I do have friends and family who have in the past, and they talk about how real their experience was. But then you have other people who would be skeptics and think it's all fake and there's nothing supernatural about it. And so you're saying that there is a supernatural aspect. There is something going on that's demonic with these Ouija boards. Is that right, Jen?
There's nothing demonic going on with Ouija boards. There's nothing demonic at all.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think you bring up a great point, because think,
like, if this were the case, then we would absolutely use Ouija boards in war. Think about it. If China could weaponize Ouija boards, why isn't it? Think about that. If it is this great power, do you think some country would have made use of it? Oh, hell yeah. Where's the tactical where's the tactical Ouija boards on the field of war these days? Exactly. Where is the tactical Ouija boards? I want to know. If it has this great power, why aren't they being deployed in someone's war? Because humans will always weaponize almost anything, right? We have weaponized nuclear weapons, which nuclear weapons, if you're unfamiliar, have a decent chance of killing ourselves as well as the enemy. Like, there is no good reason to use nuclear weapons. Where are the weaponized occult stuff? Why aren't people marching into war with Ouija boards and divining rods like they've come fresh from Hogwarts? It's because it's not real. None of it is real. This is just people fooling themselves. And yeah, I'm sorry, I'm looking at you, Dustin. None of this is real. If it were real, you could show it to me. If it were real, you could actually put it in some kind of scientific study and come out showing that it's real. But you can't, because it's not real.
about, there are people that will also say, hey, well, I tried out a palm reader and they're just a charlatan. They're just a huckster, and nothing happened.
Yeah. Charlatan and huckster. Yeah, I'm right with you. Palm readers, yes. Yeah, your palm says nothing about how your life's going to be. Nothing. Sorry.
They were wrong about everything and whatever. Listen, the devil and his minions are extremely intelligent.
I'm sorry. So the devil's offering this power, but not to palm readers? How does he feel about tea leaf readers exactly? Is it the case that he's not giving power to some people for reasons, or that they're all con artists and some are better than others?
Creatures, and extremely intelligent. So they know by watching, right? They've been watching the patterns of man for ages. They've been watching us for ages. Of course, there are familiar spirits. They know, just like I said before, they even knew how to manifest themselves depending upon what their agenda was. So for you, if it's, hey, this isn't supernatural, this isn't demonic, this isn't, well, for you, that's a good way to keep you deceived to the truth.
What? I'm sorry. So Satan wants to capture souls by offering this power that can do all of these amazing things when not in controlled environments and only when you have, testimony to rely on. The demons are offering these things in order to ensnare people, but they're going out of their way to make it look like it's not real and just a bunch of hucksters, because they're very intelligent and they want to fool people into thinking it's not real. Or alternatively, it's just not real and people lie. It's a scam, and some people lie and scam better than others. That's it. You're almost there.
About the supernatural, the truth about God and the devil, right? So that's a way for a demon to keep you away.
Wait, no, they're already lying about that, because they're saying, hey, this psychic stuff is just familiar spirits. It's nothing to do with God and the devil. It's just these entities that have nothing to do with it. Why do they also need to go, hey, and we need to show there's nothing real about it? Why? I don't understand that argument. I don't understand that argument.
From Jesus, but for somebody else, with using the Ouija board, those demons might come in aggressive. And I mean, my goodness, I've heard some of the most horrible accounts of people using the Ouija board. And I think it's very interesting to me that most people, no matter what with the Ouija board, it's interesting you hone in on that.
Mm-hmm.
They already have some idea that it's demonic, and that's why they do it. They're intrigued by it. They're intrigued by the supernatural. What am I gonna, is something gonna happen? Is something not? Right? That is so dangerous, and it's marketed as a game for ages 8 and up.
Yeah, it's because it was originally a game. It was extrapolated off various other things, like various other sort of traditional things. But yeah, it came out as a game because that's exactly what it was. It was marketed as sort of unconscious writing, like sort of a way to unconsciously write. So there's something called I think it's subconscious writing, where you basically write down things subconsciously. Automatic writing, yeah. So it's basically a subconscious act. You sort of write down just stuff, and you go into a fugue state and things just come out. It's much the same thing.
You can't even drive until you're 17, 18 years old, but you can invoke demons. That's okay. I don't mean to be snarky at all. It's very upsetting to me, especially being a child afflicted by demons. It breaks my heart. But the Ouija board most certainly is a door opening. I use that term a lot, which simply means an entrance, giving them an entrance and a way to contact demons, because you're asking. That's what you're doing with the Ouija board. You're asking for information, expecting it to come from a supernatural source.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Are you challenging me on a debate about roofing? I don't know what to say to that, Dustin. I don't look. I absolutely concede to your knowledge of roofing. I don't know anything about roofing. I don't. Okay, but as I said before, Dustin, I don't want to be harsh, mate. And mods, if you could, you're going to be tight. Like, my email address is there. If you want to challenge me to a debate on roofing, do so. I will. I don't generally know anything about roofing, so I would just concede it to, hey, you know more about roofing than I do. Absolutely. You probably know more about car engines than I do, because I'm terrible with car engines. I've never claimed to have knowledge on roofing, ever. It's not something I've claimed. I would defer to the experts on roofing. my question is, here's my question, Dustin. Here's my question. Okay. If if I don't know anything about roofing and I defer to expert roofers, tilers, I don't know what are they just called, roofers? I don't even know what they're called. If I don't know anything about it and I defer to the experts on roofing, why don't you defer to the experts on evolution? It's weird, right? It's weird that you're saying, hey, you know more about it than I do, but you're wrong and I'm right. It's weird, right? What? We've got very fancy roofs, I'll have you know. All of it's tile. Oh, some of it's like aluminium and stuff. I don't know. I do know that continental houses suck because they keep the heat. And I know that because I worked with my dad as an electrician. So climbing through those continental roofs that are like flat, they suck. Those crawl spaces are terrible.
Let me ask about that. So you're asking information and you're getting information now, which are types of prophecies, prophetic messages. But in the book of Deuteronomy, there's a litmus test for a prophet that his prophecies have to come true 100% of the time. So how does that compare to the prophecies?
Whose prophecies come through 100% of the time, Sam? Whose prophecies come true 100% of the time? In fact, not even Jesus's did, because he said that the kingdom of Christ would be established before some of the people before him would taste death. So even his prophecies weren't true 100% of the time. Whoops.
That these demons are giving.
Yeah. So first of all, psychic information is the counterfeit of prophecy, because we know that prophecy is a gift from God. We know that that is God.
Oh, it really, every time I'm hearing it, I'm thinking she is telling them exactly what they want to hear. It's exactly what they want to hear. I don't think, you're basically claiming this power, but you can't demonstrate it. And neither can all of these prophets. It's kind of weird, right? Like, they let Kent Hovind on, and his prophecies have been terrible. He absolutely says that the world should end. And what happens when that doesn't come true? If Kent Hovind was a prophet, he certainly would have seen his jail term coming. But they just take him prophesying just as, he's got this power. How do we know? How do we test that?
Directly speaking through his prophets, right? Through his word, the prophecies, and it will always be true. Like you said, it will always be true. Psychic communication, however, is the counterfeit, the cheap imitation intended to deceive people. Okay. And the devil, so here's the thing. It's got to look so close. It's got to seem so convincing, because Satan masquerades as an angel of light. He's the master of illusion and deception. Here's the thing, though. Psychic communication, which is coming from demons, like I said before, are not omniscient. They do not know the future. So what they're going to do is they're going to tell you stuff about your past. They're going to tell you something that happened a week ago while you were in the room by yourself, because it's got to be convincing. Okay.
And most likely it'll be a Barnum statement, right? They find out something upset you. Oh, I know you were crying in the room all by yourself. Really? What amazing powers of psychic sight you have.
Okay. And they were there, and they saw, and they witnessed, trust me. And you were...
Trust you. Really? Have you actually shown us anything that would suggest that you're actually telling the truth about this? You're making... See, there's the thing. This is, and don't forget, keep in mind, okay, that this is Donny claiming to have irrefutable evidence of the supernatural. This is what counts for irrefutable evidence over on Standing for Truth. Irrefutable. What this is a woman claiming a whole bunch of stuff.
I always give these, like, little analogies. You dropped your necklace and you were on the floor and you couldn't find it, but then you did, and then it belonged to your mom and she died a week ago, and then you put it in your pocket and you went to the reading. And now the reader, should that demon step forward and decide that's the information they're going to give, can say that, and you're going to be like, but I was in the room by myself. How could this perfect stranger have known that? This has to be my mom coming through. See how you make the connect also, because you want it. You want to communicate with the dead. I know I'm going on a rant now.
Yeah, and she's sort of giving the game away. She's like, you tell people what they want to hear. Yes. Isn't it funny how you're now sitting there telling people what they want to hear? Isn't that interesting? It's almost like you're telling everybody what they want to hear. Wow. Interesting. Of course, that's what they want to hear. And I'm not saying that you didn't have this power, but how do you demonstrate that that is actually true? You're making this grandiose claim. How do you actually demonstrate it? Why haven't you recorded any of these sessions to show that they're true? Why can't we put you under controlled conditions to show that you actually have this power?
Sorry, I got to go.
No, this is good. We could listen to you all day, Jen. No worries.
I start explaining. I kind of start like, because these are the questions that people have.
Right.
How does this work? What are they doing? But anywho, they do not know the future. So once they've hooked you with information, which when I was a medium, I used to call it validations. You'd be validating information that I was giving you. Now you're hooked in. Now
Yeah, she's kind of giving the game away here. This is how you get these validations in these frauds. You get enough things that they will start to think, wow, they do actually have this power. And here's the thing about it, about confirmation bias. You ignore all the misses. They don't really matter. The important thing is to tell people enough information that you get these hits and the validation. She's absolutely giving the game away of what she used to do here. You just keep giving information until something hits, because something's got to. If you give enough of these vague statements, they will identify it with them. It's the same as how astrology works. You basically say, hey, you're a fiery spirit that loves to be free. It can be applied in so many different people that you eventually get enough hits, they'll go, there is something to this. Oh, hey, Kata. So good to see you. So good to see you, Kata. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
this has got to be mom or my spirit guide or some sort of great entity who wants to help
Right.
me and heal me and be there for me and give me wisdom and so on and so forth. And that's when they throw in, now let's do some predictions.
Yeah, so this is all true, except instead of a demon, just insert a person looking for money. That's it. They charge for their services to tell you stuff that you want to hear.
What do you mean? But it came true. How could they have done that? Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to speak on that for a second about predictions, because what people need to know is this, like you mentioned, right? God knows everything. God knows all. 100% has to be correct if it's coming from God, which is a prophet and his word, right? But the Bible, forgive me, the psychic is, again, speaking.
No, Freudian slip there. Yeah, no, the Bible doesn't get everything 100% correct, unfortunately. You have the prophecy with Nebuchadnezzar taking Tyre, which he didn't do. You have the prophecy of Jesus of saying that the kingdom of God would be established before some people would taste death. They died, and no kingdom of God was established. Like, the problem with that is that you haven't actually demonstrated that all of the prophecies in the Bible are true. Some of them we're still waiting on, the return of Jesus and all that stuff. At what point do we say that it's not going to happen? Because you can always just say, hey, it's going to happen in the future. It's going to happen in the future. It's going to happen in the future. And a lot of those prophecies, we're relying on the people in the New Testament saying, hey, they came true. Definitely. Did they? I mean, there was a prophecy that the kingdom of God would be established before all the kingdom of heaven would be established before some people in front of Jesus tasted death, and that didn't come true. Stop disrupting the chat, Dustin. This isn't about evolution. I'm happy to debate you on evolution, Dustin, if you show up this time. Yeah, so sort of this whole thing of, well, it hasn't happened yet. The psychic can do that as well, right? They can say, hey, just all kinds of, well, you're going to come into some wealth, for instance. Oh, it hasn't happened yet. But prophecies are only useful when they're specific and they're time gated. Because if we can just say, hey, eventually it will happen. Oh, Robin, so totally not your fault. So totally not your fault.
To demons who do not know the future.
Yeah, if we can just say, hey, it'll happen at some point, when do you actually say that prophecy is failed? This is the problem with the prophecy about return of Jesus. At what point do we say that prophecy has failed? Because he claimed to be able to do it before everybody had tasted death, and I'm pretty sure those old dudes from Jerusalem are dead now. So at what point do we say, hey, that prophecy is not coming true? In a million years? In a billion years? Who knows?
But have been around, watching and studying for ages. They can make predictions with a high rate of accuracy. And I always say this, even I can. Even you can. If I say...
Yeah. This I agree with her on. Anybody can. If they know how to make it vague, and they know how to apply Barnum statements, things that seem profound, but in fact can be applied to a lot of people, they can be very high level of accuracy when in reality the prophecies are inaccurate.
Simply asked you, I know, Donny, you mentioned you have was it you, Donny, whose wife makes the thumbnails?
Yes.
Great job, by the way. It's beautiful. You have a wife. Your wife does X, Y, and Z Monday to Friday or whatever, the whole week, for a month. If I asked you, Donny, what she's going to do the following Monday, let's say every morning she gets up, she goes to the gym, she puts on the coffee, X, Y, and Z, whatever. Well, you're going to say to me, she gets up, she does this, she goes to the gym. And that day, you may be wrong because something else happens. But only God knows you will never be 100% because your information is coming from you, prediction, and the psychics is coming from demon. So if we can make a prediction with a high rate of accuracy, how much more can the powers of the darkness do this that have been around for ages? I always say to people, I joke, you think we're difficult subjects? We're not difficult. We're not difficult. Hello.
Yeah. You've just explained how psychic readers work, but that's how they work in the past as well. There's certain things about people that we know to be the case. I don't, you can make inferences from how people are presenting. If you say to somebody, hey, you had a big medical issue in the past, and they're my age or yeah, they probably will have. That applies to 95% of the population. And then you can sort of get leeway on what big means. Like, oh, well, I meant big as in it was important to you. It's not, this isn't rocket science. All it is cold reading. It's a trick that magicians use. But she's trying to claim, well, I was a psychic reader. My power was real. I know there were con artists that used this exact technique I'm describing, right? Because she's describing the technique of cold reading, right? You're applying statements that, you can make inferences to based upon knowing what people do. Saying, oh, but I wasn't a con artist. I was involved with demons, but believe me now when I'm saying that I'm a good Christian who converted. And incidentally, that's exactly what these guys want to hear. That's exactly what they want to hear. They want to hear that, hey, even the most despicable psychic can be converted to Christ. It's exactly what they want to hear. And for motivation, oh, Andrew, yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah. Go put anything you like on the Discord. Yeah, go for it. Enjoy. I love the monster manual pictures. They're so gorgeous. The monster manuals. That, yeah. But yeah, but she's making money off of a book. She's making money off appearances. She's basically touting this story to anyone that will listen. Prove it. Don't just say, oh, this is my. But the problem is that Christians, instead of when they hear testimony that lines up with what they would like to believe, they don't go, well, what? Oh, Regios, thank you so much. Well, Christians don't go, hey, how can you show me this is the truth? If somebody says, hey, I deconverted from atheism and etc., I will say, why? Like, what motivated you to do that? How did you come to that decision? I don't just say, hey, yeah, I know that's why, it's all evil kind of thing. No, that's not what we're doing over here. We would genuinely like to know why you left. And maybe it is harmful, that religion is harmful, but we don't just want to hear that because, for some reason it's what we want to hear. We want to question things, know why that you did it and how you can show. If somebody says, hey, that religion is, hurts people and does this, I think how you show that is more important. Like, how does it do that? But these guys have got no pushback. They don't even want to question them. Regios gifted 10 readerships for the people. Regius, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. We have Catherine MC, Ethereum Tool, Art M, Rusted Feathers, False Narrative Cults, Threatened Sanity, Spooky Chicken. Wow, that is spooky. That's a spooky name. Artem Bogdanov, Logan Fisher, Joe Heron. Yes, enjoy your emotes and your benefits. Thank you so much, Regios. You are a champ. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Yeah, so I dislike that they're interviewing this person, but they don't push back in the slight. Like, there's no pushback at all. There's no thing. Yeah, no, I agree, James, and I did point that out. He sort of, it's that smug face for no discernible reason. I sort of had described him as the masturbatory smugness of redefined living. He really doesn't, he really doesn't have a reason to be smug, but for some reason he is, and nasty to people and awful,
Oh, yeah.
We're very predictable.
Yeah, we're very predictable, but they're also around, these entities are around listening to things that you haven't heard, conversations, seeing things that you haven't seen, not in the way that God does, not in the way that God operates, of course.
How do we know this? How do we know this? It's interesting, isn't it? Because basically there's a whole bunch of people making a whole bunch of predictions. And if they come true, then it's a prophet of God. If they don't, well, that's just another fraud. Is that actually the power of God working? Because we could just line up a random bunch of people, say, hey, what's Donny going to do after his lunch? Right? They could all just make guesses. They could say, some say, hey, he will sit down and write something. Hey, he will go out and play sport. Hey, he will talk to his wife and chill out and watch TV. Hey, he's going to do that. He's going to do. And a whole bunch of people just say stuff, right? And then you come back and you go, well, this person's the prophet because they got it right. Are they? Do we know that? Or did they just say something and happen to be right? How do we tell? We should be able to test this under controlled conditions, but they will never submit themselves to controlled conditions, ever. They will say, oh, God doesn't tell me everything. I can't just provide proof like whatever. Why not? Doesn't God want us to know that he exists? Doesn't God want us to know that he loves us and can predict the future? It'd be a really cool way to do it, wouldn't it? But for some reason, nope. Whenever we introduce controlled conditions, these powers fail and fail spectacularly. And so I don't believe this woman. I don't think she's being truthful. I think she is telling people what they want to hear. I think she's always told people what they want to hear. I think that has, you know, if you take one thing away, take away that she is telling you how she operates, what she does to get these predictions and these and cold read people. She outlined it exactly how you do it. But trust her, she's not doing it.
Never God versus the devil, but they are seeing more than us. That battle is going on in the heavenly places. And they're influencing you as well. Remember that. We talk about that as well, the influence of these entities. So these demons, I always say it's kind of like, you go, oh, it's so heartbreaking. You go to these readings and these predictions, it's like them giving you that gentle nudge to do the thing, even, you know, and they'll continue to do that. They'll give you these little gentle nudges in the wrong direction.
Really? But buy her book. She'll tell you all about how she deconverted and stuff. And she's doing it for no better reason than she found God and she was, you know, possessed by demons or controlled by demons before. It's got nothing about her needing to make money. Buy her book. Buy my DVDs. Nothing about that. Okay, so this is the second video I found regarding, oh, that's better, this person on here. Yeah.
Familiar spirits or entities. Are these the spirits or demons, or if?
So just to reiterate, and I really want you to listen to this, right? Just to remind you, that video that we just saw was irrefutable evidence of the supernatural. Right? This is a guy who runs a channel called Standing for Truth that says that was irrefutable evidence for the supernatural. Where was the evidence? What evidence do we have? So now that that's over, what evidence do we have? No, Donny, you have a claim by a person. A claim. What evidence was actually presented? So think about this. Dustin, if you're still there, think about this. What evidence do we have? What is evident? What can be observed out of all of this? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And in fact, she took you through how she tricked people during the conversation and just said, well, other people do that, but me, I was contacting demons. She took you through it. Crazy, hey?
It's accurate to call them fallen angels, that will present themselves as familiar persons, like grandma. Okay. Okay. And so when they do that to the psychic medium in that state is deceived that, hey, this really is this person's grandma. This. Okay.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I mean, I really believed I was helping people. I mean, these demons will cash in on your own, on things about you that are basically nice things, you know, wanting to help people, having compassion. I always struggled with death.
Yeah, having compassion. Yeah. Yeah. So demons act compassionate. So the question is, like Maxwell's demon, how do you know you're still not under the influence of demons? If demons can act like showing compassion to others in order to fool you, how do you know you're not still being fooled? It's kind of a solipsism question here. Like, you know, it's kind of this, well, how do you still know that you're not under the influence of demons? And this is the problem with the whole demon thing, that we can't prove that the entire world isn't an illusion run by demons. That's no reason to believe it. We should believe things that we have evidence for, not just because we can't prove them false. And this whole thing about demons, the people advocating this are preying on others, that they are basically taking advantage of their fear. So from my observation, and you know, I'm not sure if other people have found this, but my observation, con artists and people who sort of fool others are preying on two things. One is their fears, right? And the other is their hope. Fears and hope. It's the double whammy of the con. And if you can merge them into one, fantastic. Because so take our good old friend, the Nigerian prince scam, right? The Nigerian prince scam. They prey on your hope for a start. Oh, I could get wealthy. I could not have to worry about that mortgage and the thing and, you know, all of this stuff. They're preying on hope. But also they'll weave into it fear, the fear of missing out. Oh, if you don't reply to this, then, you know, you'll miss out forever because I can't hold on this thing. So they will weave those two things together. Sound familiar? Fear and hope. So all in my opinion, this lady was a con artist before, and she's just found another game. She's just found well, I can just claim that I was contacting demons, tell everybody it's real, be afraid of the demons, but there's hope for you yet. It's just another con. And if I am wrong, prove it. Prove you have these powers. Prove that you are, in fact, talking with a god. Prove that this god is actually real and in a eternal conflict with these demons. Prove it.
I struggled with fear of death. I struggled with grief in a huge way.
Yeah, I think you still do. And not to dismiss anybody's grief. I think that's a terrible thing. But religious people prey on that. The amount of times I've heard the argument, oh, well, you don't want to believe that your loved one just vanishes when they die, that it's just all over. That doesn't mean I should give you money.
Meaning I would, even if it was somebody that I didn't even know and they died, I would be the loudest crier in the wake or the funeral or whatever. Something about it. And the enemy presented this thing to me. You know, a lot of this I've seen in looking back now, you know, the revelations really God's given me about this, how he used.
The revelations God's given you about this. God's given you revelation. So you're a prophet now. God's talking directly to you. Okay, so now she's a prophet who God is giving her direct revelation about the truth.
Even those things about me to make me think that this was a good thing. This was great. I was helping people. I was helping them with their grief, not to say bringing closure or anything like that, but more in like a.
Yeah, no closure there, and that's part of the problem. The grieving process is the closure that we're after, and it is a process, right? So we have to come with turns, and you know, people may be familiar with the 5 stages of grief: the anger, denial, bargaining, and finally at the end is acceptance. We have to accept that they're gone. And you, lady, you have worked against that grieving process. You have made things worse for people. And, you know, you might say, oh, but it was the demons. You're still doing it. You're still doing it. Oh.
Healing way. So yeah, this is your son coming through. This is your mom. This is your spouse. This is whomever. And I'm crying with these people at the end of these sessions. And
yeah, which is harmful. It's harmful because, you know, and sort of, I'm not gonna give out psychological advice, but I recommend that if you are in grief, that you see a grief counselor or another mental health professional, somebody that deals with the psychological states that we are in when we lose loved ones. And I am not minimizing in the slightest. I'm not saying, hey, it you know, just get over it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there is a process we have to go through to let go of our loved ones when they die. And I've been through that process at least twice now for my parents, and it's hard and it's horrible. But sort of pretending that they're still around and pretending that you're going to see them later does not help. It doesn't help. We have to let go, and you know, we have to come to the realization that we're not going to see them again, and that's okay. And you know, we have to go on and carry their memory with us. It's not an insignificant thing, but it's something we've got to work through. And that is the grieving process, which you asshats are absolutely interrupting by sort of saying, hey, you know, and that sort of, it kind of occurs to me, just as I've said that it may be the reason why it irks me so much that people go, oh, but you're going to see them again. It's because that is antithetical to the grieving process. Like it's horrible. You know, this interruption of, well, I've got to deal with this emotion and this you know, stuff, and somebody's trying to suggest, hey, it'll be okay because you'll see them again. No, you're not going to. It's they need to stop. They need to stop coming up with this, oh, but you'll see them in heaven. No, that's not helpful. That's not helpful. Like, I understand, like, I would understand if you think someone else is a Christian and you want to do that to comfort them. Sure, have at it. But you've got to stop saying this stuff to atheists. You've got to stop saying this stuff to people that don't believe in that, because it's not helpful.
And they seem that way. And that's why I always drive home 2 Corinthians 11:14-15, that Satan masquerades as an angel of light. And I remind people, if you've ever even seen those movies with masquerade parties, that's what these demons are doing.
So how do you know, like, you just claim to get revelations from God. How do you know that's not a demon? How do we test that? How do we check that? Like, I don't understand why the critical thinking process of, oh, well, you know, I was doing psychic thing and I seemed to be helping people and I seemed to be, you know, consoling people and crying with them, but they were demons. But now I've got a revelation from God. How do we know? How do we know? What if you're still being controlled by demons? And I'm not saying you are, because I don't believe in any of that stuff. I don't think you were talking to demons back then, and I don't think you're talking to God now. But how do we test this?
They're putting a mask on. It's not mom. It's not dad. It has to be convincing, though, and that's why they have to produce the information. They know moms.
What happens if they're wearing a God mask? What happens then? There's the problem with these kind of unfalsifiable stuff. What if? But you're sure it's, you know, you're sure that you're talking to God now. But wait, you were sure you were talking to mum or your brother or whatever spirit back then. So what is your methodology for establishing what is God and what is demon? Because you thought you were right back then and you think you're right now. And this is not evidence for a God, it's just another claim.
Mom. From 100 years ago, 200 years ago, they can produce the information. People get locked into the accuracy of information versus where it's coming from.
And this
Oh, the irony. Oh, the irony. People get locked in to the information instead of where it's coming from. Oh, the irony. Yeah, people don't go, hey, is this person lying to me for money? Is this psychic doing readings in order to part me with my money? Where is this actually coming from? Is this actually coming from a spirit? But now she's saying, oh, but my information now comes from God. Let's apply the same thing you just said. Let's apply the same thing. Are you actually being accurate? And where is that information coming from? Are you actually getting this from a God? Or are you just making it up? Are you leaning into this because you're selling a book and you're trying to make money off your ministry? Or is this actually coming from some supernatural being? How do you demonstrate that?
information is more so downloaded into your mind or brain as you're giving a reading, or are these familiar spirits, you can see them in front of you and they're how does that work? I'm
Yeah,
curious.
all different ways. It depends on how they want to do it. Mostly it was downloaded for me in a reading. And I would use automatic writing as well, meaning I just had a notebook and a pen with me on my lap. And so that as I was channeling, I was also channeling through the.
We're very aware of what automatic writing is. It's you accessing your subconscious. Like you don't, wow. Automatic writing. So she basically goes into a psychological state. Oh, take care. See you, Kings Mason. Take care, mate. Really good to see you. She basically takes into a psychological technique to access your subconscious, automatic writing, and then says, well, that's me channeling. So she outlines Barnum statements, she outlines cold reading, explains how it all works, right? She explained that earlier, exactly how cold reading works. Now she's talking about automatic writing, which we know is just a sort of way to tap into your subconscious and let subconscious thoughts flow through. And this is her evidence of the supernatural. Like it's like she's basically telling you how she ran her con. In my opinion, what was a con when she was a medium and a psychic, and then saying, well, but believe me now, because I've given all of that up, because that was all demons, which she knows you believe in. She knows you believe in demons, right? So ask yourself, is she saying this because she actually knows it to be true? Or is she saying this because she knows you believe it?
Paper and pen. So I would start drawing these symbols, writing names, things like that. That's automatic writing is when you are still in your meditative trance-like state, like, hey, demons come in, I'm going to be over here, letting them, not to say...
Yeah, that is not what automatic writing is in the literature. Automatic writing is simply putting your conscious brain into sleep mode, essentially, and letting your subconscious thoughts just write whatever. It's not what you... Like this whole thing about, oh, well, it's sort of a demon thing. No, it's not. It's just automatic writing. It's not... Wow.
Let them feed you information, okay? So I would be doing that, automatically writing while I was channeling. So sometimes it was a combination of that, or I saw the familiar spirit over there. They were bringing things to my mind, smells, and that was mom's perfume, things that would be familiar to me. They would use your senses.
Really? Oh, I smell that your mum used to wear perfume. How did you know? Wow, she knew my mum wore perfume. How did she know that? That's incredible. That's incredible. It used to be a flowery scent. How did she know? My mum used to wear flowery perfume. It's incredible. It's incredible. She knew these things about my mother. Who does that apply to in the chat? I just say your, and my condolences if your mother is deceased, and a medium says, hey, she wore flowery perfume. How many does that you know, apply to? It applies to me. Yeah. Oh, look, Jake, I thought about hassling the accent. I can't, mate. Like, I can't hassle people's accents. Let's face it. You know, it would be like a person in a glass house throwing a stone. Let's face it. Now, to be fair, there's only one accent that's stupider than Australian that I can hassle, and that's New Zealander. Okay, I reserve the right to hassle a New Zealander accent. Don't be concerned. I'm just playing it up because that is, you know, that is the least surprising thing that anybody could do, is like make a Barnum statement like that, a vague statement like that about somebody, and be right. It's the least amazing thing that has ever happened in the history of humanity. Like, wow. There you go, Viclet. I'm here for you. Wow.
Seeing things, hearing things, smelling things, like I said. So just different ways, yeah.
It's so interesting. Let me ask this, and then
Let me guess. My mother was a old woman with white hair. Come on. Come on. She's explaining how she did it. It's wow.
Sam, I know you got a question to ask. It's just such an interesting topic. There's so many, it's like a ripple effect of questions based on what you say. And so, as you know, you're familiar, and I'm sure those in the audience are familiar with some of these, I don't know, superstar Hollywood psychics, where they go into like a big congregation or a big group of people. And I've heard some skeptics say, oh, there's nothing real or legit about what's going on with these psychic mediums. They're doing what's called cold reading, I think, if I'm not.
Yeah. Cold reading. What's that? I don't know if she's going to admit it or not. Do you think she'll admit it? Like, yeah, I used to do cold reading. I don't think so. I think she's going to say something like, yeah, people use cold reading, but not me.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, how do we differentiate between the psychic mediums that are simply just cold reading, and maybe if you could speak to what that is a little bit, and those that actually are able to talk with these familiar spirits and demons and have this information, Jen?
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up because I mentioned the word charlatan before, charlatans and hucksters. There's always going to be hucksters amongst the, you know, the various groups of people, right? Jobs and, you know, things like that. People that want to just make a buck. I think of Simon the Sorcerer really with that, right? But
Simon the Sorcerer. Is this guy large? Is she jealous? Is that, I don't know. Simon the Sorcerer. Oh, she's talking to a biblical reference? Okay. He tried to buy his way into the apostles. Why do I think that would work these days? Okay. Simon the Sorcerer. It's interesting that she's like talking in their language of the Bible and biblical references. There are some that call me Tim. That apparently that was ad-libbed by John Cleese. I don't know how you can ad-lib that so well. Like, seriously, what a line.
cold reading is when you're looking for cues. So you're not really receiving any psychic information. You're looking for cues. Does the person have a wedding ring on? Or like you mentioned in the big groups, right? Does that person look sad? How are they reacting to things? If I just throw out somebody with the letter S, did they like, you know, cold reading is basically you just trying to read cues. Not anything I ever did, not anything I ever had to do because I was so plagued by demons, obviously, really receiving information.
Yeah. No, there's ways to do this that I didn't, because I was receiving information from demons. What?
How do you know the difference? Well, I can't tell you at this point that people can't do both at the same time.
I'm sorry. So people are consorting with demons, and the demons are feeding them all this information that can make it look like they have a magical power. But at the same time, they're using cold reading? Why? Why? If you've got actual supernatural magic powers, you don't need cold reading.
Even pretending to be a diviner, now you've already invoked those demons. So I would not be surprised if you get something and then you could call it a hit, right? That you get a hit. Yeah, that was.
You know a lot about the lingo of cold reading. Like, you know a lot about it. You get a hit. Yes, explain to us how you get a hit and then extrapolate off of us. Please do.
And maybe that person would even be surprised because they're a charlatan. So they're like, wait, what? So I can't say that. But I would say how you know is that the entire reading, okay, for example, when I did readings, I always had a spiel in the beginning of the reading, kind of like an introduction as to what was going to take place. And I always said, do not tell me anything. You can say yes, you can say no. If I ask you.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you basically said, don't tell me anything, knowing that you've already got information about the person, or you can cold read them as they're responding. Like, I get that. It gives a lot to your sort of believability if you're saying, hey, I don't want to know anything about you, because you've already got information. Like, people rarely go to a psychic and say, oh, well, I'm just here, tell me what my problem is. I don't know why not. If you go to a psychic, why can't they tell you what the problem is? Doesn't work like that, does it?
To validate something, but don't sit there with this long, oh yeah, that was my mom and then she did this and and no, don't do any of that. It's about them telling you, not you telling. Of course I didn't think it was them telling me, but not you telling them. Let them tell us, let them speak. And then I would take their questions at the end, and then when they had the questions, then because now it was already established that.
Yeah, you would question them, and based upon what they say, you would alter your questions. It's cold reading. That's what it is. And you look for reactions, you look for cues, you get hits. Those hits build up, even though they could be just pure chance or statements that can be applied to multiple people. Like, for instance, your mother, I'm getting an association of floral perfume with that person. They will build up into a place where you can say, hey, I got enough hits. But if you throw enough information out there, especially information that can be applied to multiple people, you will get those hits. That's what cold reading is.
This is whomever was coming through in the reading, and then the demon masquerading would answer the questions. So I would say that that's how you would know the difference. There would not be any of me like looking around like there's somebody with an M in the room.
Right.
Somebody's father died.
Mhm.
Somebody's father, stepfather. I actually made a video. I just saw it the other day. There's somebody, if they were like a father to you.
Yeah, and that's the very good ones basically graduate to that they can go to a room and throw out these cues and basically get an interpretation of what's happening. However, just because you didn't do that doesn't automatically mean that you were in fact had some kind of congress with supernatural powers, right? You may not have done that and still be lying that you have supernatural powers. That's not mutually exclusive.
Whatever.
Mhm.
And you'll see that people will when they start with that.
Well, I watched recently a video response. I really enjoyed it.
Well, the better ones sort of go, oh, I feel that somebody around here, did you lose a mother or a father? And they've been given some information to begin with, kind of thing. That's what the better ones do. And she probably has some information, because these psychic readers, usually they work from referrals from somebody else. Somebody will say, hey, I have a friend, she's lost her father and wants to contact her father. So she'll come in and go, oh, I feel like you've lost some man in your life recently. And it's not, it's not psychic power. It's just them essentially tricking people. It's not supernatural powers. It's supernatural griftery is what it is. I don't think it's even supernatural. It's just super griftery.
A video response you did to one of these well-known psychic mediums.
I know what you. Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I thought that was great because a lot of what you're saying you discussed with your friend in that video.
Yeah.
All of these different cold reading tricks. And so, but I agree with you. I think it's interesting that it can be a mix of both.
Yeah. And she knows a lot about cold reading, right? Funny that. Funny how you know so much about it. Interesting. Why do you know so much about cold reading if you're not doing it? I mean, I know that could be, hey, you've worked in the industry and you encounter a lot of it. Sure, but, why should we think that she could not employ these techniques that she's describing? Why would we think that? Why would we automatically go to her claim that she could contact the supernatural rather than cold read and just believe it? How do you demonstrate you're actually in contact with something supernatural?
Somebody gets a hit and then they go with it. And even at that moment, they might be surprised.
Yes.
And then at that point, they got something to work with. And so I guess I'm wondering when it comes to the information that's down.
And I will give this to Donny. At least he's pushing back a bit. I mean, I would I would certainly be more skeptical. I know that Donny isn't that skeptical. I certainly would be more skeptical, but at least he's actually asking, like, you're describing these things. How do people know that you're not using? At least he's doing that. So +1 point for Donny, -1 to Sam, just from the complete lack of contributing anything to the conversation and sitting there looking smug. Because what have you done, Sam? What have you done to look so smug? What you've done nothing this entire time. Nothing.
Especially from the skeptic's point of view.
You know what? At certain points, I mean, I don't want to pick on Sam that much, but what does he actually do in these videos? Like, what's his purpose for being here? I don't understand, because Donny asks all the questions. He talks in the chat. He does all of this stuff. What does Sam do? Like, what does he do? Why is he there? I don't know. I'm so confused. It seems like he just sits around and looks like he just had the best shit of his life. I'm sorry. I don't know what he's for. Maybe he did. Maybe he did. Maybe it was supernatural.
How else could this be explained, if not supernaturally? Because you've discussed in many videos, also in your books, this information that comes in. That how could you know? How could anybody know this information that has come in? And I'm wondering if you could speak to maybe a couple of those incidents that might have happened.
Okay, I'm taking a point back off Donny for being such a softball question. Like, he's just explained how psychics can get hits.
Whereas just completely flabbergasting at this information that was downloaded, Jen.
Yeah. Oh gosh. There's so many cases, honestly. So I mentioned one a little bit earlier about when I was getting the ultrasound, and that was not even an appointment. That was, an appointment for a reading. That was me just receiving that information and asking, hey, can I, I'm a psychic medium. Can I share something with you? Something is coming through, whatever.
Oh, wow. If I was talking to that person, I would say run. Like, do not. If someone came up to me and went, I'm a psychic medium, can I do a reading for you? I'd be like, oh, you know what? I'd probably say, yeah, go for it. But, ask some hard-hitting questions about what specific details they can come up with in that setting. I don't know. I don't hate all psychic mediums kind of thing. In the same way I don't hate all magicians. I think as long as you know that it's a trick and they're using mentalism, I think it's fine. Like, there's mentalists out there who will do amazing things, from, guessing numbers to telling people detailed. They do amazing stuff. It's a skill, but they don't pretend that it's a supernatural power. They call it mentalism, and it's basically understanding the psychology of people. They don't pretend that it's supernatural. And those guys I respect, just as I respect, say, Penn and Teller, because they don't claim that it's this supernatural magic that they're doing. They will say, no, it's not magic. It's just trickery. And here's how we do it. Which you can argue, I mean, sometimes they don't show you how they do it, kind of thing.
And of course, everybody always said yes. And so we had that time. I had a woman come for a reading who turned out her husband was cheating on her. And now, again, remember, she's sitting there silent, and that's where you have to think to yourself, everybody's husband is not cheating on them.
Right.
So why would you think, that would be some, oh yeah, anybody could say that, no. Well, this is how we know. This is what the people look like. This is where he works. This is who he's having the affair with. And what was interesting was that that's just me talking at that point, right? So that's me talking, sharing this information.
Yeah, can we in any way check to confirm that all of this information is correct? No, we can't. And here's the thing. What if she told somebody that and they actually believed it? What if it wasn't true? I don't know how we actually confirm that this story is true or not. Like, could it be that this story is just a whole bunch of bull? Could be. But to people like Donny and Sam, this is undeniable evidence of the supernatural. Undeniable. And this is on a channel called Standing for Truth. Is it undeniable evidence of the supernatural? I don't think so.
A lot of that she had already known, and it was confirmation for her. So there's your validation. So now what? What did they want to do to this woman? What did they want to do to this with this situation, with this through this reading? And it was that later, and I actually wrote about this in my book. That night, she actually ended up calling me. Long story short, which I would never usually take calls. I was watching American Idol with my daughter. She was like 3 at the time. I don't remember how she. So I'm 47. I don't know. It was a long time ago. So
wow, she and I are the same age. That's scary. Yeah.
So I'm doing that. Basically, office closed, but I answered the phone that night, and she called me and she asked me to channel the woman's address where the woman lived who was cheating with her. What was she going to do with that information? Right? You think about it, and then you go back to the agenda of the evil.
Yeah, so you didn't give her the information about her address, right? Because you couldn't channel that. Or is it that she was going to do something horrible and you didn't want that horrible thing to happen? Is that going to be your claim?
Want to steal, kill, and destroy. That's his mission, right? Oh gosh, so many. So I did so many readings, Donny. It's oh gosh,
Fascinating.
Yeah, it was just oh gosh, even my own family. I even did.
Oh, you did readings on your how could you ever know that information about your own family?
I even read my own family, and I would think that would make the skeptic really want to punch me in the face right now. Like,
I do not condone violence, but mentally, it is hard to sort of take you seriously with these claims with nothing to back it up whatsoever. Like, you don't seem to understand that evidence isn't just you saying things. It's actually being able to demonstrate those things are true.
You're okay. You read your family, you know your family, oh no, this was very deliberate information, things that I did not know.
Yeah, we always know more about our family than our family thinks we do. Just saying. Like, a lot of the time we know information that our family doesn't know that we know. Okay, so a lot of the time there's things that you know about your family, they don't know that you know, and you don't tell them that you know it. That just seems to be the way that families work. You kind of know something about your brother or whatever, and you go, you know what, I don't need to have that discussion with them. That's their life, Right? And there's things that sort of you don't know about your family that everybody else does sometimes. Like, this isn't a big surprise. This is not, wow, She knew things about her family that they didn't know she knew. Amazing. Wow.
That I had to go to my parents and ask them, and going down in the lineage, the great grandparents and this person and that person, and it was just mind blowing. And even, of course, unfortunately, the predictions and things like that. I used to do automatic writings for my sister, and she used to save them. I actually almost interviewed her about that because I'm writing my third book because she.
Yeah, just drop the book. Yeah, I think I'm done with Jen, but really the takeaway from this, yeah, I don't think she's got anything more useful to say. She just repeats claims. But yeah, essentially that was, and keep this in mind, that was what standing for truth, Donny says, is undeniable evidence for the supernatural. So if ever you were to think that standing for truth is not telling the truth, that's got to be one of the best examples I could give. That's not even undeniable evidence. That's not undeniable evidence of the supernatural. That isn't even any evidence of the supernatural. That is a woman coming on claiming stuff, just making claims, just saying stuff. Okay, how do we tell that it's true? But here's the problem. When you're that deep in religion, when you fiercely believe in a dogmatically in your religion, you will believe that stuff because it aligns with what you want to believe. What we want to do is eliminate confirmation bias, right? You are biased to confirm that thing about it. Right? It's like if someone comes on here and says, hey, this evidence proves that evolution is true. I want to be able to say, oh, where's that study? Like, can I see the actual data behind it? Can I, it's not enough to just accept it because you want it to be true. And I think we all have problems with that. Everybody has problems with that. Everybody does, right? That they are ready to believe what they want to be true. That is absolutely, everybody does that. We're very aware that everybody does that because you lean towards what you're hoping for, and that's a natural human thing. But what we want to do and what skepticism promotes is saying, how do I know it to be true? Do I just believe the things I want to be true, or is a more reliable way to get to what is true and what is not is to have a methodology for determining what is true and what is not true? And so we would like to use a methodology. We would like to say, okay, let's find out how we falsify this information, right? How do we falsify it? What's the criteria for showing that it is wrong? And then apply that. The problem with these things is that there is no falsification criteria. How do I show that what she is saying is not true? What can we do together to test to see what she is saying is true or not true? Because she will readily admit there's people that do this cold reading, they do these techniques, they do these Barnum statements, they do all of these things and can fool even skeptical people about it. But what they don't do is show a way that you can test them to show that they're wrong. And they've got no interest in doing so. But that holds true for religious people as well. You can't put God in a test tube. You can't test God. Why not? How do we know it's true then? Why can't we? Why is it that every time we go to get sort of evidence for or against God, it's like, well, that doesn't apply to God. It's just, you can't do that. Why not? Shouldn't we be able to see if God's doing something in the world, shouldn't we be able to test the effects of that and see? Why can't we? If God's doing miracles, why aren't they captured on camera? Everyone's got cell phones. Everyone's got smartphones. And, it really does raise my doubts when people are making money from their stories of saying, hey, I used to be a psychic and now I'm a Christian. because I think that the cynical part of me, or the skeptical part of me, says that, you know, if we've noticed that people who are deeply entrenched in religion generally won't have a lot of critical thinking skills to be able to apply for this stuff. We see a lot of the time people who are deeply religious fall for scams and fall for you know, hucksters, and believe these things because they want it to be true. That's not to say that, hey, atheists are never fooled by scams and stuff. Absolutely we are. Absolutely. But if this woman is, in my opinion she is, but if this woman is in fact a huckster and a fraud, there is no better place that she could go to is say, hey, well, I found God. I'm going to start a ministry and I'm going to convince people that now I'm in contact with God. She did say that God had told her things. Well, then she should be able to predict the future with 100% certainty, or so she says. Can she? If not, why not? If God's giving her information now, but I mean, she'll probably just say, hey, no, he just shares with me messages and doesn't give me this information and stuff. Convenient. Incredibly convenient. Incredibly convenient that now you've left the demonic thing behind. You can't demonstrate the efficacy of that demonic stuff under a controlled environment, but none of them ever want to. Yes, Beck. Yes, Majestic Beck. God works in mysterious ways. Definitely very mysterious. Don't question it. Don't question it. You've got to just believe, right? Just believe. Doesn't matter if you know, some person's making money out of it. Just believe and you'll be saved. The irony is that she'd actually stated that she has a problem handling grief and death. So maybe that's got something to do with it. Maybe she's just deluded herself. I've heard that can happen as well, that some of these people that con people, they end up believing their own bullcrap, basically. They end up believing that. Could be the case. I don't know. But anyway, that's Donny's dodgy demonology. That's, according to him, irrefutable evidence for the supernatural. Irrefutable. I didn't get any evidence whatsoever. I got a testimony. That's what I got. I got testimonial evidence. I got anecdotes. Anecdotes from somebody with an uncanny knowledge of, you know, psychic tricks to cold read and to use vague statements and all of these tricks. An uncanny not working knowledge of how to fool people. So yeah, I didn't see much evidence though. I don't know. Maybe I watched the wrong video. Oh wait, it was in the video title. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Not a lot of evidence. But if that's what Donny is calling evidence, wow, Donny, what are you doing? What are you doing? Seriously. Don't get me wrong. I like Donny, but man, you can't call that. Like, can you look me in the face and call that evidence? Seriously? Ay. Donny, what are you doing? What are you doing, Donny? Don't get me started on Sam. The guy, I don't know why he's even in the room. I really don't. He just doesn't. I mean, did he actually say? I know he said something, but he basically rescinded that and didn't want to talk. I don't know. He didn't actually say anything. But thank you so much for joining me, everybody. I'd love to see you all. So Saturday night Eastern time, Sunday morning, real Australian upside down time, we will be having a debate dissection. I'll be doing the part 2 of the one done in the previous week, so tune in for that. If you can give a like and subscribe, I really appreciate it. If you want to share it, please go ahead. I won't stop you. Join the Discord if you do want. I'm going to try to sort of... The Discord is largely unformed. It will evolve like the proverbial... you think you evolved from a bacteria. You'll think you're related to a strawberry. So yeah, just stay tuned for that one. The Discord is a work in progress, but if you do want to jump on there, you are more than welcome. I'm going to try to, and I think Andrew's going to put up some pictures, which I'm really looking forward to. So thank you so much for contributing. I really appreciate it, and I love to have you all here. It is so good. It's awesome. So thank you so much, everybody. Don't forget, be kind to yourself. Be kind to others, and have a fantastic day, everybody. See you.